Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson, and you're watching the 5 Off 5 On Racing Show live from New York. After a week off, a week of well-deserved vacation, I might add. Now I need a vacation from my vacation. We had a great time down in sunny, hot Florida for my grandson's first birthday, Chase, and then spending a week in mid-Florida, in Orlando, thinking I'm still like 20 years old and trying to do all the theme parks and a bunch of other things. But it was a great time. And one of the things I got to do is going to Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach for the tour. Now, I have taken this tour, I was trying to think about when, but I believe it was like in 1993. So that was quite a long time ago. So I take the tour. And for those who will be in the Daytona area, and if you think this is a plug for the place, I guess it is, but anybody who's going to be in that area should book out a half a day, and I do mean a half a day. The tour at the Daytona International Speedway. The tour starts with a tram ride, and you get like an instruction with stand up, sit down, and all that kind of stuff. Don't do this, do that, make sure you do this. And you go out on the outside of turns 3 and 4, and we did not get a chance to get out of the tram at that point to see how high the banking really is from that vantage point. And we were told it's 4 stories from the white line on the infield to the wall is 4 stories high, and that the cars need to go at least 80 miles an hour or they'll slide off. You would think, you know, but that's taller than your roof. Now, the banking at Daytona International Speedway is 31 degrees, whereas at Talladega in Alabama, it's 33. And I always wondered why they weren't the same, and the tour guy explained that after him and I at one of the break points where everybody just did a photo session and having 62 people get their picture taken. The tour guide and I were talking, and he asked me, because I had told him I worked for NASCAR and was involved. And he goes, oh, I bet you there's something you don't know. And I said, what? He said, why is Daytona 31 degrees and Talladega is only 33? Well, is 33. I had no idea. So we got to talking about it, and he said, because Talladega is built on clay. So when they went up in the corners, 33 degrees, everything was packed solid, hard. When they tried to go to 31 at Daytona, they had problems. Excuse me, and they had problems because Daytona Beach it's beach sand, and it kept collapsing. There was no way to, without spending exorbitant amounts of money, to protect that wall. At 31 degrees it held, at 33 it fell apart. And that's why. So again, we take the tour, and we ride along the outer portion of the racetrack in turns 3 and 4, and then we go down onto the racetrack in the backstretch. And looking at that backstretch from right where it starts to pitch up into turn 3, it's like 3,600 feet straight down. It's like being on a desert road, and it just seems to go forever. And of course, we got the tour of the garage area.
Hey, what's... Oh, I was going to say what's up for some reason. Hey, we're Set It Up, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Village Music Shop of Mastic. 1-800-HEY-DUDE, your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi there, this is Buddy from Less Than Jake, and you are listening to Inravio TV. You're probably watching it too.
Hey, we're back. We had a little technical thing, but we're back. So I don't know where we lost my sound, so I'm going to kind of start over with the Reader's Digest version, as they call it. Daytona International Speedway. Went down, took the tour. Great time. Get into a little tram, they pull you around, and they take you to the outside of turns 3 and 4, and you get to look down and see how high that really is. Unfortunately, we couldn't do that because it was puddles and it was slippery, and they were afraid somebody got hurt. But I've seen it from that vantage point, and from the tour guide's response, it's 4 stories high from the white line on to the bottom. To the wall is 4 stories high. You take around the turns, we go down into the backstretch, taking a look at that long backstretch. I mean, man, I would love to sit in a race car and just stand on the gas and go 200 miles an hour and make that hard left. Into the garage area, into Victory Lane, into the press room where the drivers, and at the end they go and they talk to the media. We went into there. And then across down Pit Road, and then into the grandstands through the front of the Speedway. Now, the Speedway has gone on a multi-million-dollar renovation, and I'll tell you what, I have not been to Daytona in a couple of years. I'm thinking 2013 was the last time I was there, so that's only 4 years ago. And the place has changed. Remember, the seats in the backstretch are gone. I remember when they put them in, I had one of the first guys to get tickets for it. And then the front stretch, they've put the second tier all the way across. And I'll tell you what, our tour guide, his name was Jeff, he did an excellent job. Him and I talked about the changes that went on. And he had said that the seats used to be 18 inches wide, and they made wider seats. He didn't know how big they were. And I just had read something like recently that they're now 22 inches wide, and every seat has a back on it. The lower seats did not have a back, and when I first started going and you got on a waiting list, that's where I sat. You just had a little, like a seat bottom that you sat on. Now there's seats all the way through. The seats are multicolored like they are in Charlotte, and the reason for that is when those seats are empty on TV, it still looks like there's people in it. So I had a great time at Daytona, and even though I was only there for the day, it brought back some memories, and most of those memories were awesome. Unfortunately, I was there the day that Dale Earnhardt Sr. lost his life, and that kind of sticks with you. And he was the first competitor that I saw live, in person, lose his life in a racing incident, with Tom Baldwin Sr. being the second. And that stuff sticks with you. And I remember it so distinctly. And I had Dale on my scanner because I wanted to hear what he was saying with his cars running 1, 2, 3, between Michael and Dale Jr. And he was yelling the last couple of laps, just yelling, pick a line, because Dale Jr. was in second. He's trying to get past Michael, and he's going in, back and forth, and Michael's mirror driving because he's not giving this up. He don't care if it's his boss's son, and Dale was screaming to his crew chief to get with the crew chief of the other two teams to tell those guys to pick a line, and his chatter did not stop. And then all of a sudden, he wasn't talking on the backstretch. He just wasn't talking. So I thought he gave up. All right, boom, they don't want to listen. And then, unfortunately, we had that tragic crash. So I was there the night that Dale Earnhardt Sr. practiced under the lights. I was there with my girls, and it was a cold night. I remember when they put the lights in, and Dale was out there, testing. And for a nice crowd at the Speedway for that test tonight. It was free. Come in, watch, and listen to him on the scanner talking to the control tower about the lighting and where they needed to add more and where it was too much. And it was a good time. I had a great time at the Speedway. And it's kind of funny, going there. This is the first time that I was back at Daytona when I was just a fan. But the last time I was there, I worked Speed Weeks, and it's a whole different perspective when you go there as a fan. And when you do that, it takes you back to when I first went there, where there was one section of grandstands in the front stretch, one tower where they had, the premium seats, and now it's amazing what they've done. And, a lot of people think NASCAR's in trouble, and I don't want to say it's in trouble, but NASCAR needs to take a look at its product. And I know I said that a couple of weeks ago, but they need to take a look at their product. And you look at Watkins Glen, it's hard to see. That's where they were this past weekend. It's hard to see empty seats in Watkins Glen because people are picnicking in the hills for the most part. And that's where all the action is. You don't see a lot of front stretch racing or going into turn one. But the seats are empty. Now, a lot of those seats are paid for because you go online, and I tried to explain this to somebody. The week before a race, that Thursday, Friday, go online and try to buy tickets, and you're hard-pressed to find available seats together if you want to go in a group. And that's because a lot of people buy the tickets. They renew them in a year ahead, and now it comes that the race is going to be, in a week or two, and they can't get off work. They can't afford to go. Well, they gave the tickets away, and that person didn't show up. They couldn't get hotels. They couldn't get flights. Oh, the hotels and the flights are so astronomically expensive. And then they put their tickets on the ticket selling websites. And let's face it, a lot of people aren't going to go online and buy tickets to an event, especially a race event. If it's a baseball game, a football game, that's a whole different story. But the stands are empty, and you got to wonder, how much longer can this go on? The people aren't going to the races, and it's getting less and less in the stands week after week, year after year, and that's a problem. That's a problem. Yeah, the NASCAR's still making money. They're still selling licenses. They're still selling, events to all these other racetracks. They're still collecting sanctioning fees from all the weekly tracks across not only America but the world now. You got to pay a sanction fee. You have to pay money. And a lot of people don't realize that when the purse is paid, when the racetrack pays the purse, 3% of that purse total, whatever they paid out, 3% of that purse total is sent to NASCAR. So if you have a racetrack that has round numbers, a weekly series track that has a $20,000 total purse payout for all the divisions they have running, I mean, you take 3% of 20,000, that's $600, and you times the thousands of racetracks across the country. All they did was give them the banner, NASCAR, and NASCAR collects on that. Is that wrong? I don't think that's wrong. That's business. It's almost like the weekly tracks are carrying NASCAR, and all the money's going to the top three. When we come back, we're going to talk about the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour and Ryan Preece, what he's been doing in the last couple of weeks when we come back.
Hi, I'm Remington.
I'm Emerson.
And I'm Sebastian.
We're Palais Royale, and you're watching Inravio TV.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there. And we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Les Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Master. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop. 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi, this is Mike Jarecki from My Race News, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Hey, welcome back. Welcome back. Yes, everybody saw that lead in from Michael Jarecki from MyRaceNews.com. MyRaceNews.com, founded by the late W.J. Johnston. W.J., a good friend of mine, always a part of the show. Miss him a lot. But anyway, speaking of Mike Jarecki, for those of you who don't know, on August 24th, I am going to be having some surgery that's going to put me out of pocket for a little while. And Mike Jarecki has agreed to sit in for me at least 1 week, and that'll be the 28th. Then the following week, I don't believe, is Labor Day weekend, so we won't be here. And then the following week after that is September 11th, and we'll see how we're feeling. But I'll be going in for surgery, and I'll be off my feet for 3 months. So if you can imagine that, keeping me down for 3 months, I don't know, but Mike Jarecki has agreed to fill in for me. Mike, a good guy, a good fan of racing, a good reporter. He's traveled this country checking out races, so he'll be sitting in with by himself, in the hot seat all by himself. So thanks to Mike Jarecki. Anyway, the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour was at Stafford Motor Speedway in Stafford Springs, Connecticut. And Ryan Preece took the win down there, driving the Eddie and Connie Partridge's own number 6 modified. Doug Colby was second, followed by Justin Bonsignor. Third was Timmy Solomino. John McKennedy, Tim Solomino was fourth. John McKennedy was fifth. Sorry about that. Robbie Summers was sixth. Dave Sapienza was seventh. Craig Lutz finished eighth from the pole, his first pole for the rookie contender. Gary Putnam was ninth, and Matt Swanson rounded out the top 10. Speaking of Ryan Preece, Brian Preece also won an Xfinity event at Iowa Speedway a couple of Saturdays ago, driving for Joe Gibbs Racing. He got a 2-race deal. He finished second in the first one and first in the second one. And with that, another race was added to his deal, so to speak. Ryan Preece, I remember when he came onto the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour, just a young kid, him and his dad and his mom and a couple of people helping him out. And he was a very, I'm going to say this, a good-looking kid, well-spoken. And I remember watching him working pit road and watching him saying, this kid's going to go places. If he gets with the right group of people, he's going to go places. And one of the things he did is he left the family team, wanted to drive for Eddie and Connie Partridge, and it kind of changed everything. You know, and And think of it as a kid, and you're doing, whether it's racing, whether it's landscaping, whether you're building a house, and you're working with your dad. You do what your dad said. Whatever your dad says, that's what you do. And now when you're driving for somebody else, I think you have a little bit more input. A little bit more input about setup, how it should go, what you should do, what you need to do. And there's more conversation between the crew chief and the driver. And I think that's what Ryan Preece needed. I think that's what he did. And I wish him well. He's an awesome race car driver. He's a good representative of the sport. And there's another guy that came out of the modified ranks out of the Northeast that's going to try to make a name for himself in the top 3 series. And he skipped that truck deal. He's right into the Xfinity. And the only thing after that is the Monster Energy Cup. And a lot of guys from the modifieds made that move. Todd Szegedy, I believe in 2004, 2005, went into the Xfinity, then Nationwide Series, and didn't make it, not because he didn't have the talent, but because he ran out of money. And Ryan Preece is doing everything he possibly can. And to make that happen, I mean, he needed new racing shoes, and because I guess NASCAR said that, hey, these aren't passing or they're old or whatever reason they gave him. And his mom went over to the parts truck, because they have a parts truck at the big boys too, and and put it on a credit card and got him a new pair of racing shoes. It's an expensive sport, and it costs a lot of money. And it used to be back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, you had talent, you got a ride, and the team made sure that there was sponsorship. Now, first thing they're going to ask you is, how much money do you have? Who can you get as a sponsor? We'll provide the car and the team. You need to come with the money. And I think Ryan Preece is just that much shy of getting that boatload of money to give him the opportunity to run the Xfinity Series full time. And I think driving and being a part of Joe Gibbs Racing, I think that's going to happen in 2018. And with all these teams and drivers and seats vacating and teams going from 3 cars to 4 and then 2 to 3, because they're realizing they're not getting full fields. Hey, you know what? I'm going to throw a second car out there because they're going to start 40 and 38 is showing up. I'm going to get in. Because they only pay the top 40, even though the points go all the way down. If 70 people take time trials and 30 go home, you still get points as a breakdown. So Ryan Preece did good. So he won. He won at the Stafford Motor Speedway. They'll be at the Thompson Motorsport Park this Wednesday night. And right now it is 8 races down, 8 to go. So again, at Stafford Motor Speedway, Ryan Preece, the winner. Congratulations to Ryan Preece. Doug Colby was second, and I said the sponsor was third. So looking at the points now, again, 8 down, 8 to go. They're at the midway point. Anything could happen. But Timmy Solomino, Long Island's own Timmy Solomino, is the point leader with a 7-point lead over Rowan Pennick. Timmy with 3 wins, Rowan with 1, and the other winners are Ryan Preece with 3 winners. Nobody else has any wins that I saw, so there should be 1 more. But anyway, the points, Rowan Pennick, 7 points down. Eric Goodale's third, 25 points down. Justin Bonsignor is 35 points down. Ryan Preece is 36 down, and we have Doug Colby in 6 points, Matt Zeckham in 7th, Dave Sapienza in 8th, Robbie Summers in 9th, and Woody Pitkat rounding out the top 10 in points. And speaking of a former NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion, Todd Szegedy will be stepping away from Kevin Stewart Motorsports. Szegedy left the team after the Stafford event. Szegedy started 7 of the 8 events this season and is in a disappointing 21st in points. Szegedy, the 2003 NASCAR Whelen Modified Tour champion, did a little Xfinity / Nationwide racing, did some spot racing, took some time off for family reasons, and then came back to racing. And I'll tell you what, I've known Todd, I'm going to say I've known him for about 15, 20 years maybe. And he's a gentleman, but he's a winner. And if he's not winning, it's not fun. And at his level and intensity of racing, he has to be battling for the win every week. He's got the talent. So for him to walk away mid-season, there's something that wasn't working with the team. They weren't gelling. He's used to driving for Don Barker when they ran the number 50 car, when he won that championship, where they had the best of everything, a full-time crew chief. When I say full-time, the guy was on the payroll 52 weeks out of the year, a dedicated team. And I don't know that he doesn't have that here, but something happened. Something happened for Todd Zager to say, hey, I'm not doing this no more. I'm packing it in. Don't be surprised to see him go pick up one of the other touring series in a car that he could win in. But to have Todd Zager, a guy of his caliber, just walk away like that, I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. And as Jay Slice is saying, you know, NASCAR racing is going downhill because it's the dollar beats our driver skill, and that's absolutely correct. And you know, I look at a guy like Todd Zager, he should be in the Camper World Truck Series or the Xfinity Series. That's where he should be with his talent. Another good-looking guy, well-spoken, you know, and a good ambassador to racing. And you know, when I say well-spoken, I can remember back, and I'm going to say it was back in '93. I was, you know, at UPS now, working in our corporate headquarters, and they were talking about some marketing strategies, and I says, why don't you get involved with racing at NASCAR? And the guy looked at me like I had three heads. He goes, this is what he said. He goes, what do you as a northerner know about racing? So I had to educate the guy on that. Some people will still say I might not know anything about racing, but that's okay. It's their right to think that. But I said to them, well, why not? Why not get involved, get our name out there, and make it happen? They still didn't understand that. Finally, one guy goes, yeah, that's what we want representing us. A guy in dirty coveralls with a beard, with a hat, a baseball stained hat, chewing on a piece of straw. That's what we want representing our sport, our business. And I said, no, understand something. Even if that's what you see, that guy is ordering parts. Those parts need to be shipped. Other people order parts. Those parts need to be shipped. Race day, people need stuff in an emergency. Why wouldn't we have a track-size services thing that we can get the parts delivered to the racetrack right into the garage? We need to do that. We need to get involved. We need to get our name out there. And they kind of laughed at me, you know, but like a year later, I guess I planted a seed. You know, here we are sponsoring, at the time, a Nationwide car in an alliance with Yellow Freight. Just a small associate sponsorship, and then boom, we are with Robert Yates and Dale Jarrett. And I could tell you, the UPS deal at the time was $16 million a year for 3 years. So you're talking a $48 million deal. You know, how many packages and overnight letters do you have to send to make that up? Well, part of the deal was UPS got 30% of the merchandising, and that didn't count all the minutes that they got on TV with Dale Jarrett running up front. There's people that measure that. What is that worth in dollars? So it was determined that UPS made like $3 for every dollar they spent. So they ended up netting like $150 million on this $48 million sponsorship. Over time, they kind of backed off a little bit. Different people in the corporate headquarters, they're doing different things. They're still associate sponsors here and there. They're still part of Roush Fenway Racing, and they still sponsor some racetracks. But you know, you sponsor these teams, it costs a lot of money, and you want the best. You want the best, and if somebody could come in and say, "Hey, look, I got this Fortune 500 company behind me, but we have to run up front," that guy will end up with a good running team. And that's what it's all about today, unfortunately. You know, unfortunately. And I look at some of these young guys that are in the modified series. I look at some of these young guys, and I hate to say this, and I never thought I would say this, but they're on daddy's money. And let's face it, if you race enough, your skills are going to improve, and by golly, you'll be good. You'll be a top runner. It used to be the opposite way around. The top runner got in, and then the money followed. And as Jay Slice says, that's a whole different ball game today. Whether it's right or wrong, we'll never know. But it is what it is, as they say. Anyway, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about some of the stuff that went on at Watkins Glen this past weekend when we come back.
Hey guys, this is Jibs from Ocean's 8, Alaska, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Hey, I'm Raul Panther.
And I'm Commander B. Hawkins.
And I'm Mark Weller. We're some of the proto men. If we see you without this bracelet, you're punching the But if you have this bracelet from Inravio.com, you can win $100.
Put one of these on, or else.
What's up, guys? This is Assuming You Survive, and you're watching Inravio TV Network.
Welcome back, everybody. All right, some stuff going on. Anyway, the Camping World Truck Series was off this weekend, but they will be at the Michigan Speedway Saturday, Saturday, August the 12th. But the Xfinity was at Watkins Glen. We had Kyle Busch was the winner there, Joey Logano second, Brad Keselowski third, Justin Allgaier was fourth, followed by Paul Menard in fifth, Kevin Harvick was sixth, Ty Dillon seventh, Eric Jones eighth, Brendan Gaughan ninth, and William Byron rounding out the top 10. Joey Logano took the pole there at the Xfinity race at Watkins Glen. The Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series was also at Watkins Glen. Now, if you've never been to Watkins Glen, I'll tell you what, bring a blanket, bring a picnic basket, a bottle of wine, some cheese and crackers, if that's what you like, or bring some bologna sandwiches and beer, whatever you like. That's the type of place you bring that. You lay out there and you enjoy the races. But Martin Truex was the winner there, followed by Matt Kenseth was second, Daniel Suarez was third, Denny Hamlin fourth, Clint Boyer was fifth, Kurt Busch sixth, Kyle Busch seventh, Ryan Blaney was eighth, A.J. Allmendinger ninth, and Eric Jones rounding out the top 10. Kyle Busch took the pole for this event, and another gorgeous, pretty place up there in the hills of upstate New York. And when I say that, it's gorgeous. I worked many events at Watkins Glen on the Cup Series level, and for whatever reason, you get an assignment sheet, by the way, when you go and work these Cup events, and that's your job for the whole weekend. And my job for the whole weekend was it said bus stop. And I don't know if I told the story once, but I'm going to say it again in case I didn't. And it said bus stop, and I don't want to look like a fool, but I had to. I says, guy, what are you trying to tell me? Go to the bus stop out on the highway? What's the bus stop? And it turns out that's where the chicane is. They have to slow them down, and they have to go through the chicane here. And if they miss it, and they go through, I got to get on the radio, say Joe the Tower, car number, 48, missed it. Now, it's a large racetrack. So now what happens is they radio to this, they get with the spotter gets with the crew, and they get with the driver. You got to stop. There's a stop and go penalty on the track. in a safe spot, and you have to buy where I am. And now they're coming around, they'll say, okay, 48 cars coming. I go, copy tower, and then the car will come, they'll stop. They have to like come to a full stop. They can't roll through it and then go. And I'll say the car 48 served its penalty. And, and it's like miles away from the garage area, you know. But I loved working at that place. It was an interesting place, and there was no pressure on me as that doing that. So Watkins Glen, nice, a road course. I wish the modifieds ran a couple of road courses. The problem is they can't run just one because they have to change their car so dramatically. So they should run a Watkins Glen, and then a week or two later run Lime Rock. I think that's a perfect fit. But anyway, speaking of Martin Truex, Martin Truex gamble on fuel mileage worked in his advantage in this 90-lap event. Truex let Brad Keselowski pass him. Just let him go. Let him go on lap 77. Again, 90 laps. So there's only like 13 to go. Let him go. Because we all know if you're running second, you're running using less fuel, utilizing a draft. His crew chief, Cole Pern, instructed Truex to allow then Ryan Blaney to pass him on lap 83. Now, you know, I'm not a trusting type of soul, and my crew chief's saying when somebody goes, just let another guy go. I'll pull the wire out. But it ended up working out because Keselowski had a pit on lap 87 because he was virtually out of gas. And Blaney pitted on lap 88, leaving Truex right there for the win. However, it wasn't an easy win because Truex crossed the line 0.4 of a second ahead of Matt Kenseth. So if that race would have been one more lap, it could have been a whole different outcome. And Kyle Busch, the pole sitter, was not happy with Brad Keselowski due to contact midway through the event, around lap 46, 47. Busch felt that Keselowski hit his driver's door on purpose as Busch was going for an inside pass. Keselowski felt he had the spot and Busch shouldn't have been there. Now, Brad Keselowski is not one of my favorite fans, my favorite drivers. I'm the fan. And that's his attitude. Hey, I got it. Get out of the way. Now, your spotter's telling you inside. So you hold your line. You don't come down and catch the guy in the driver's door, sending him into the marble, sending him into the dirt and the sand. And Mr. Busch was not happy when the race ended. He got out of his car and briskly walked over to or towards the two team. And I guess, and of course, media's in tow because they're going to get this. You know, every camera guy, every reporter with a microphone, they're going to get this altercation. And I guess on the way there, he got tired and he just did not confront them. And on his way to his trailer, A.J. Allmendinger kind of paused and shook his hand for whatever reason. I tell him, no, nice job, but he was not happy. And I'll tell you what, this isn't over with Keselowski and Busch. It's not over. And speaking of Kyle Busch, it's been announced that he is not going to be back in 2018 with the Stewart-Haas Racing, in spite of winning at Indy. So we'll see where he ends up as well. Anyway, but I don't know. I don't know what's going on in this world of racing. And Boris Said, for those of you who don't know, Boris Said is usually the hired gun in road course events like Sonoma, Watkins Glen. And Boris Said announced that this past weekend at Watkins Glen in upstate New York, that would be his last Monster Energy Cup Series event. He's done. He just wants to go have fun. And here's a road racing champion in other divisions and other classes of race cars. So Boris Said will not be racing anymore in the Monster Energy Cup Series. And you wonder now, you know, here's a guy, I always wondered why he wasn't a full-time driver. I mean, all right, good, you're good on the road courses, you're great, you're good with all that. Why are you not racing on the series full-time? And I always wondered that. Not that it matters, but I kind of always wondered that. Let's see what else we got going on in the Cup level. Casey Kane is added a 5-car at Hendrick Motorsports at the end of the 2017 season. Casey Kane still had a year option on his contract, and it was decided that he was out. Where he's going or who's replacing him has yet to be determined, but you know, he's raced for a lot of people. He came on board with the 9 team when Dodge first came back into business. He drove for Richard Petty Motorsports for a little while back in the day, but where he'll end up in 2018, nobody knows. He's not the same. In his 5 years at Hendrick Motorsports, he has 6 victories. And I think they expected more out of Casey Kane. So did I, quite frankly. But anyway, Ryan Blaney will join Team Penske in 2018 as Penske will return with a 3-car team. Blaney signed a multi-year contract extension. Blaney has been with Penske since 2012, earning 5 Xfinity wins, so he'll be moving up with the big boys, so to speak. And Joe Gibbs Racing has suspended 2 team members of the 78 Front Row Racing for 3 events. This due to an altercation at Indy with other crew members. Joe Gibbs Racing provides crew members for Front Row Racing as part of a marketing program between the teams. Chris Taylor, Lee Cummings had a confrontation with Kyle Busch's crew team chief, so they will be sitting out for a while. And I'll tell you what, Joe Gibbs, and I had the opportunity to meet him on many occasions, had conversations with him. Joe Gibbs is a no-nonsense guy, and it's all about the appearance. And he doesn't go for that. And Joe Gibbs, they pray as a team before the events. They pray before meetings. Whether you're into that or not, you got to respect that. And I can remember the last conversation I had with Joe Gibbs was up at the Pocono International Speedway in Pennsylvania. And I said to him, and I always wondered, here's a successful Super Bowl champion football coach riding the wave. And he walked into the ownership of the Washington Redskins and said, I'm done. So I said, you know, Joe, listen, when you walked out of that office and shut the door and got on that elevator and were going to your car in the parking lot, what went through your head? He goes, I said to myself, Coach, what did you do? I said, did you have a plan? He said, no. Did you have anybody advise you? The Lord? I wasn't happy in football anymore. Somebody said, hey, you know, you should buy a race team. And he treated his race team like his football team. It's his family. He cares about each and every one of them. He's all about respect. He's old school. He's old school. And there's nothing wrong with old school, because old school's missing. Let me tell you, old school is missing. And Joe Gibbs Racing, I'll tell you what, they're going to be successful going down the road and looking at, when he's going to take it upon himself to deal with his crew members, something that NASCAR maybe should have done and did not, but maybe because, you know, Joe made a phone call and made it happen. And I can remember back in my Riverhead Raceway days, there was a driver who had big corporate sponsorship, not only on his race car, but at the racetrack itself. And he did something on the racetrack that you just don't do when you're carrying your sponsor's colors. I'm not going to say who the driver was. I'm not going to say who the sponsor was. But out of respect to the sponsor who put, when I say a lot of money into the racetrack and into the race cars and into the team, out of respect, I called him on Monday morning before I wrote my report to NASCAR about how much of a suspension and fine this driver was going to get. And I called him up. I said, listen, Joe from Riverhead, and he knew I was. And I said, I had an incident with your driver at the racetrack. He goes, I heard all about it. I said, well, before I impose any penalty recommendations to NASCAR, I just wanted to talk to you about it. And he goes, I think he should be suspended for the whole year. And I said, no, that's a little harsh. I got to be consistent with what I did with other drivers. He goes, other drivers don't have the big corporate sponsorship that this guy has. And what this driver did is he was involved in a wreck on the racetrack, and he sat on the door of his car, leaning on his roof like this, and screaming and yelling back and forth with the guy he just wrecked with. And then he told that other driver he was number one. or half a peace sign, whatever you want to call it, and just kept doing that. And like he was bowling and he was like making the signals and stuff, and the fans were booing. It was an ugly situation. I didn't put the guy out for the year or anything because I had to be consistent with what unsportsmanlike conduct penalty would be. And these are the things you have to do. And Joe Gibbs is that kind of guy. Play right or don't play at all. And that's just how it is. And I don't know. I have a lot of respect for Joe Gibbs, and as not only as a coach, as a team owner, but as a person, as a human being. And there's not too many people that I put in that high regard, and so that means a lot to me that he's that way. Anyway, we're going to take a break. We come back. We're going to be wrapping up this Monday night of race talk, and still talk about the K&N Pro Series East and what they had going on this past weekend, and other things in the racing world that I want to talk about when we come back.
Hi, I'm Remington.
I'm Emerson.
And I'm Sebastian.
We're Palais Royale, and you're watching Inravio TV.
There we go.
The world of advertising has changed. Radio, TV, and newspaper revenues have declined drastically. Why? Because businesses have realized that advertising return on investment isn't what it used to be. So what can we do about it? Well, that's easy. Advertise online. Own a local restaurant, real estate agency, or even a national retail chain? Whatever your business, Inravio can get your message out there, and we can do it at a fraction of the cost. Call today and see the difference for yourself. This isn't TV. This isn't radio. This is Inravio.com.
Hey, this is Chris Less Jake, and if Inravio.com spots you at an event wearing this bracelet, they will give you $100.
Village Music Shop of Master. 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Your full-service store with personalized attention, school band instrument rentals and sales, music instruction on all instruments for all styles and age groups, for guitars, drums, amplifiers, PA systems, and accessories. It's Village Music Shop. 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Call 1-800-HEY-DUDE or go to villagemusicshop.com.
Hi, this is Mike Jarecki from My Race News, and you're watching the Inravio TV network.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Anyway, the K&N Pro Series East was also at the Glen in upstate New York, with Will Rogers winning there, Todd Gilliam second, Harrison Burton third, Ruben Garcia Jr. was fourth, Jay Beasley was fifth, Ronnie Bassett Jr. was sixth, followed by Chase Cabernet. Seventh, eighth went to Dylan Murphy, ninth went to Dylan Bassett, and 10th went to Matt Tift. Ryan Truex was the pole setter. He got caught up in an accident and finished 19th. Anyway, a lot of folks who know me know that I look at social media from time to time, and maybe more times. But one of the things I noticed on social media this past weekend was some people were upset about a national anthem that was sung at their local racetrack and how the person butchered the words, and how the track should be embarrassed and blah, 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 and this and that, and really blasting the racetrack over this person who messed up the national anthem. That's not the track's fault. This person that sings the national anthem at all these racetracks across the world, or at least in the United States, that person comes highly recommended. That person probably auditioned. That person had to sit there and sing it, I'm sure, to the owners or marketing people, whoever. Now think about this. And this, it just bugs me that people say this kind of stuff. Think about this. How many of you out there, when I say you, whether the chat room people, the people who are just watching at home, or the people who go to work on Tuesday and bring it up on their computers so they look like they're working in the archives, how many of you have had an opportunity where you have to speak in front of a group and you know your stuff? You know your stuff. You know what you're talking about. And you get the papers and all of a sudden you're like, it's the same thing. you get out there and, you know, and once you mess up, it's a snowball. And I've been in that situation where I've gotten up and I've had to say something, and on this show even, and I've stuttered, I've sneezed, all of a sudden I had the wrong paper in my hand. It happens. It happens. Everybody is human. We make mistakes, we're nervous. You know, and singing a national anthem at a racetrack, whether there's 1,000 people or 100,000 people, it's not easy. And it's not an easy song to sing. So to blast a racetrack because of the national anthem was not sung, they left out a verse or they sang the notes wrong, who are we to judge that person? They did the best they could. They messed up. Maybe next time they'll do better. But it's not the track's fault. You know, and I see this stuff on social media. Where did they get that person? I don't know. They got him. You know, they're trying to do the right thing and salute this great country that we live in. You know, with the national anthem. Again, one of the hardest songs to sing. And if anybody knows anything about music, the range of that is large, you know, from the lowest note to the highest note. And the words don't flow, they don't rhyme like most songs do. You know, when you have the rhythm of a rhyme. The national anthem really doesn't do that. This is a song that was written on a guy who was on a jailing ship in the Boston Harbor, you know, as a war is being fought around, the War of 1812. And he just jotted words down. He wrote his feelings. And somebody put it to music, and boom, and in the I think there was the 1906 Olympics or the 1904 Olympics, the American won the gold medal, and the band had to play a song. They played that, and it's been the national anthem ever since. I personally think it should be "America the Beautiful," but that's just me. But anyway, you know, social media. Some of us have keyboard muscles. What do I mean by that? If you were there and you saw it or heard it, why would you not go up to that person and say, hey, what happened? Oh my God, I got so nervous. And I saw somebody wave to me out of the corner of my eye and it got me messed up. Whatever the case was. No, but you got to go on social media and make it look like it's the track's fault. It's not the track's fault. And it's so easy to put all the negative things. Why didn't these people who, and I'm not just talking about my local, I'm talking about all across the country, because I look at a lot of tracks, blogs and read websites and what people say. And why didn't you talk about the 118 things that were good that night? No, you focus on that. And then what happens, you know, and you know, people go, oh, let's go to the, oh, that place, they don't even do the national anthem right. Come on, guys and gals, come on. Let's stop that nonsense. Stop it. Stop it. Social media has shut down racetracks. Because as one owner put it in his local newspaper a couple of years ago, I couldn't even go to church with my family because social media would say, oh, instead of trying to fix the problems at his racetrack, he's at church. Are you kidding? You're kidding, right? You can't do that. Talk about the positive things. Talk about the positive things. If there's something that you don't like, go speak to the management. I've done that. And it worked. It worked. They saw and heard what I was saying, and I did it in a professional way. Hey, how you doing? Listen, I got a situation. Can we talk? And oh, maybe now's not the time. Let's talk tomorrow. Let's go. I'll give you a call later. And that's what we did. And when it was all said and done, I don't want to say I was right, but I was vindicated. We had a nice conversation. The change was made. Because I did it. I didn't get on social media and blast the racetrack and the officials and all that. And I was never that type of a person. And maybe because I wore the hat and I know what it's like to have to make a snap decision and a snap judgment call based on what you think you saw or based on what you were told by your other officials. And then you find out that you were wrong, made a mistake. And it's how you correct that. Everybody makes mistakes. Every person, every company, every business. And one of the things I taught people at UPS when I was, teaching customer service skills, I said, you know what? The people are going to vent, they're going to yell and scream, and they're going to be upset about things. And just understand what they're saying. Don't engage with them. Don't engage. Agree with them. Agree with them. Hey, I hate when that happens. Yeah, that happened to me once. It's hard to argue with someone who's agreeing with you and who's talking to you in a rational way. And like I said, when I had my situation, I went to the track owners, one of the track owners. We had a nice conversation. We spoke on the phone a couple of days later. I got a phone call, from, actually, I saw the general manager at another racetrack, and I said, look, I'm here with my team, you're here with your team. Now's not the time to discuss this. And I think he respected that. He was there with his kid racing, and I was there, with my team, and we're trying to race. And then we had a conversation on the phone, and it was all good. And those are the things you have to do. Bring it to their attention. Sometimes they don't know there's a problem. Go into the office of your local racetrack if you don't like the way the national anthem, and do it. First, go in and say, hey, listen, I don't know if you heard that national anthem. They messed it up. They're probably going to say, yeah, we heard it. We'll have a chat with them. Stay off of social media bashing your racetracks, unless it's something that's factual. Like the cost of tickets and hotels and airfare to get the race weekends when everybody jacks up the prices in these cup weekends. Yeah, that you go let them know. Let the world know, because maybe the hotels will back down on the pricing. I don't know. I just wish people would think a little bit before the keyboard goes. A lot of people have keyboard muscles. It used to be phone muscles, and it used to be beer muscles. Now it's keyboard muscles. Hey, everybody has key muscles. Stop with the keyboard stuff. Be positive. Be positive. Anyway, I think we got to wrap up. We're coming to the wrap-up point of our show. So I want to thank everybody for taking time out of your busy schedules this evening to watch and listen to Race Talk here at the 505 on Racing Show at Inravio.com. And wherever your endeavors are going to bring you this week, and some people are going to be headed to the Thompson Motorsports Park in Thompson, Connecticut for the 150-lap modified tour race. Please be careful. Please be safe. Give somebody a hug. Tell them you love them. God bless you all, and we will see you next week. Good night, everybody.
Radio.